I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, and I am so delighted to be joined by some of the most acclaimed composers and songwriters and artists working today. I'm joined by Brice and Dallas Davidson, songwriters of The Neon Highway from the film of the same name. Alex Summers and Scott Alario, composers for Nickel Boys. The Octopus Project's Toto Miranda, Yvonne Lambert, and Josh Lambert, composers for Sasquatch Sunset, and Sean Douglas, co-songwriter of Harper and Will Go West from Will and Harper. Welcome, everybody. The first question for you all, and I'm probably going to go to Dallas first because he was the first one I actually interviewed in this whole panel, is about what you most value about composing for visual media as opposed to writing music or creating music for an album or a live performance. What is it about film that you most value?
That's a tough question for me to answer, being this is the first time that I've actually ever done it. But when I got to write the song, I got to read a script, write a song that was right in line with the film, and then get to see it come to life, as you say, visually. I actually watched the film, and I heard a little snippet of my song, and then in the song, the film was actually written about the song. So the song was the whole focal point of the whole film. So it had to hit on what I wrote. So seeing that happen was really cool compared to where I typically write a song for, say, we'll use Lee as an example. And the joy I get out of that is hearing it on the radio or the only other visual examples I can come up with is watching a music video. So this was a first for me in writing a song specifically for something. Usually I just write whatever the hell I want to write. I write songs for myself in hopes that other artists like them. This was written specifically for visual effect, but again, the script was written to include my song as the whole meat of the movie. So it was a first, and hopefully not a last.
Yeah. Lee?
Yeah, I mean, I personally I'm such a movie fan, always looking for a great movie to watch. And then since I was a baby, it's always been a thing. And so I've always had a dream about doing that. And so I still haven't, because I didn't write this song that Dallas wrote. I got to sing it and I got to be in the movie, but it's cool to me because, I get to be right here in a room with some people who get to do it all the time. And I don't think I've been able to stretch out what I think I can do, at some point. And I would love to get into it more. And so to be able to even have this conversation is really cool. But I just, movies and songs in them in moments, there's nothing like that visual and that audio coming together with a great actor, all the things, it just really is like the mecca of an emotional, whether it's whatever kind of emotion it is, could take you there. And so that's kind of why I do what I do in my world. And so I'd love to do it on a bigger level at some point more. And so, me and Dal are going to have a conversation after this thing is over.
Yeah, I think you definitely should. Alex, same goes for you. You've got a lot of experience, obviously, scoring and also as a recording artist and songwriter. So what do you most value about this kind of work where you get to score for a film and actually amplify the emotion that the audience is going to be feeling?
Yeah, I love scoring so much. I find there's a kind of unknown, unnamed third thing. So you have the music and you have the picture. And when you make something that kind of either subverts what's happening on screen or exaggerates it, it kind of creates this thing that's greater than the parts. And it's more powerful than if you listen with your eyes closed or if you watch on mute. And I don't really know what that is. It's a bit of an alchemy. It's really cool, but we've all experienced it in a great movie, a great scene. And I love circling that and collaborating with filmmakers. It's way more open and collaborative. It's also interesting in scoring. You can make very simple, sparse, primitive music and and it can work and be powerful and compelling. When you take away film, I personally around my house listen to a lot of simple, primitive, drony music, but most people, it's harder to get people to connect to that. You'll be like, listen to this amazing drum piece, and then people are really bored like 3 minutes in. But in a film, that's not really the case. So it's a great arena to be working in if you like atmospheric music, and I feel really lucky to be, yeah, learning and trying it all the time.
And Scott, are you on the same page?
Yeah, but actually, to admit it, this was my second film score. The first one was with the same director and Alex as well. So I don't know. It's not my day job, but I loved doing it, and I love any chance I can get to work with Alex. And making music is a dream. So yeah, loved it.
So really, you can't complain. Moving on to the Octopus Project. You guys have got a lot of experience, particularly with these crazy creative brothers. But what is it about scoring for film that you most value?
I really love working with a picture and collaborating with a picture and being in conversation with a visual element. I think we have much more experience as a kind of a rock electronic band. So moving to the composer world and working with a picture has been really awesome to do.
It feels really good to work on something that's much bigger than the thing that the three of us, work on together. And I also really love that at the end of the day, when we're submitting songs, like we submit it to somebody else and they choose like, I like this, or I like this or whatever. And then between us, it's like a lot harder. It maybe takes a lot longer to decide.
You get to hand the bag to somebody else at the end of the day to say that this is good or this doesn't work. And it's nice to be relieved of that responsibility. It's also kind of nice to get to work in a totally different context, because when we're doing our band thing, we can do anything we want, but we find that certain things work for the kind of band format and certain things don't really. So it's nice to have a totally different framework where we get to try different stuff. And you get to be a part of these different kind of constructed worlds. I think that's the thing that's really exciting to me, is to get to be part of a film where they're really building a different reality in one way or another through the setting, through the story, and to get to amplify that and give that another dimension is really satisfying.
Yeah, I can only imagine it would be. It's certainly satisfying for the audience. Sean, you've kind of already touched on this, but I'm curious, when you see the final product of a song that you've written in a film, particularly a film like Will and Harper, do you remember how you felt the first time you saw it on screen? How does that actually feel?
Yeah, I was much more vulnerable than it usually feels to have like a song come out that you've written for someone else. And I don't know why. It feels like maybe because they have that running thing in the movie where they're kind of building to it and what's it going to be. So maybe that was more pronounced in this. But yeah, I mean, I think I saw it at a screening for the first time when it was actually in the movie. So you feel like the communal experience kind of makes it all the more intense. Whereas otherwise, I thought that I had become a totally jaded songwriter who couldn't experience true emotion anymore. But turns out there's a little left to be wrung out of me by the film process.
But isn't it great when you feel like sometimes you feel like so dead inside and you've had a really hard week? The power of film or TV and music and how they come together, which is why I'm always doing these panels, because it means so much to me profoundly to speak to people who create music for visual media, because of how it impacts me emotionally. So just imagine how millions of other people are feeling listening to your work constantly. It brings this up for me because I'm looking at you all on my screen, and I just realizing that you're all collaborating together. You're all working in teams. Sean's two teammates are not with us today, but again, you're all working collaboratively. I'd like to know, what is the most challenging part and the best part of working in a team to create something like a song or a score that is so subjective? So you're not all going to be on the same page all the time, and that must be challenging, even if you work together for years. Who'd like to talk me through that dynamic?
I mean, I don't know about talking through the whole dynamic, but I know that the biggest thing for me in any type of situation and creating a song of any sort is just got to be listening more than you're talking, and like being open to whatever, and we've been talking about a few things that aren't like music by numbers, or you got to be in a box, and like sometimes it's, somebody said earlier, sometimes it's about the sound more than it is the notes, and that's so true. And that's a true thing for me, even in just making a record, like just a record that I'm going to put on the radio or put out. And so for me, that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, I can speak to that as Rob, as somebody who co-writes a lot. Actually, this song, I wrote it on the foot of my bed during a snow day. I had to go borrow a guitar from my neighbor because I couldn't get out of my house when it finally hit me what I wanted to say. And but I would say from my hundreds of co-writes, 2 heads are better than 1, 3 heads are better than 2. Maybe 4's too many.
Yeah.
There's usually somebody that's sitting there not doing shit when you've got that 4th person. But I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, but I'm just
Definitely you are.
So sitting there without a sounding board, but then I had one. I had the producers. I had Stratton, and I had Bill and Phil walking me through. Like I said earlier to your answer, the whole movie is about the song. So I had this great direction. So I had a sounding board. I had people telling me what the goal, they had a master plan where the film was going to land, where it was going to go. So even though I sat there on the bed by myself on this boat paddle of a guitar I borrowed from my neighbor, it was just a piece of junk, but it sufficed, and I was able to pull from the direction of the producers and the writers of the film. They were my co-writers, really.
That's right. And
then you take it to one of your best buddies in the world, knowing he's gonna nail the vocal, nail the production, nail the music. That was very helpful too.
Yeah, I do want to give a shout out to Lee. The vocals on this track, chef's kiss, beautiful.
Oh,
I loved it.
Thank you, Rick.
Who else would like to talk me through the collaborative process? Maybe the Octopus Project. You guys obviously are a team. You work together. You're a band. Are there moments where you're just like, you don't know what you're talking about, and you don't know what you're talking about, or is it really just not like that at all?
I think we generally err towards letting something happen, even if you're not feeling it in the moment. Because I know for me, and probably for a lot of people, it's gonna feel different when you come back around to it later, and so you can kind of trust your collaborators that even if I don't get it right now, I might get it tomorrow. So just let it be, and if you have an idea that can add on to that or elevate it, then that would be you could take that approach. But we generally go towards letting things happen rather than stopping things from happening.
Yeah, I think we try to withhold judgment right off the bat, and what I've always really appreciated about the 3 of us working together is the trust that we have in one another to see an idea through, and I think we can always appreciate that we're gonna land in a place that we're all really happy with and comfortable with.
Yeah, looking back, the track record feels good to me. So in the moment, you can trust it.
Yeah, that is so true.
Healthy band dynamic. It's nice to see.
We watched that documentary a lot.
Yeah. Right. It's so true. What about you, Scott?
Alex and I fight all the time. It's really vicious. Well, I'm on the East Coast and he's in California, so it's a little bit hard. But the only thing I say is I wish we had more time together, because we'll usually get a couple of days and we'll make the most of it, and sleep very little and just like be making music the whole time. But I just wish we had more time to do it. And then I think he's always right. So like I kind of defer to him a lot.
No, Scott has amazing instincts, and making music alone is a little bit isolating, and it's lonely. And one minute you're like really psyched and think what you're building is really clever and cool and inventive, and then you can have these like really harsh doubts and like really not believe in what you did. And I think in having a collaborator, in this instance Scott, my best friend of 20 years, it's so fun. And Scott's right. He believes in me and I believe in him. So we encourage each other and we drink a ton of tea and get really amped up and stay up all night. And it's so fun. And I love collaborating. I'd always choose to work with a friend and collaborator than to work solo, always.
And Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think all my best results have been sort of democratic ones when everyone is kind of bouncing off of each other. And I mean, like even with this song for the movie and most other days, yeah, you know, Dallas and Lee definitely know this. It's like your writing combo is like it's just a band for the day. You form a band and you vibe out and then break up until that combo happens again, you know, a few months later. But that's the fun of it because you just get to go. It's the kind of a fine line to walk where you want to stay open to the idea that it's better than yours, even if you have like a thing coming in, but not sort of sit so far back that then when if it goes sideways, you go, ah, shit, I wish I had said something before we got like so far down the line on that thing. And you know, some days that's just where the car goes off the road and your song's so. And then the days that you happen to kind of tiptoe on that and stay where you're supposed to be, you get something great.
You know, I've actually learned something today because as a control freak, I always wonder how hard it would be to work collaboratively on creative things. And now I've realized that's got to help with self-doubt. And of course, we all feel that as you could be the greatest of all time. And of course, you're still going to have some self-doubt. We're human beings. And that's so insightful. Final question for you all. It's my favorite question. I always ask it. And it's about the significant impact or influences over your creative career. What scores or film composers or songwriters or recording artists that you love, that you look at as as the gold standard that you would that you revere. I could be here all day telling you mine, so let's go with you first. Who would like to take us out first?
I'll go ahead. This is Dallas raising his hand. I'm a massive Motown fan, and if I'm thinking about all the films and movies I've seen over the years, what do you hear so much of? Motown. And so I don't know. I just thought of that. I was listening to you ask the question, and that's what popped in my head is I'm so influenced by Otis Redding, even though he was actually Muscle Shoals, but the Temptations and all these great artists that came from that little tiny studio with a dirt floor that made such an impact on so many films for I mean generations to come and that's the first thing that comes to mind that influenced me that I've just realized when you said that I've noticed their music is just and then the Beatles. I mean, you know, we don't have a lot of country songs in movies. That's a fact. I think that's a shame, but I get it. Um, the Stones, you know, how many times have you heard Fade to Black in a song? I mean, that's just an iconic song is worthy of a Scorsese film. I mean, it's just, you know, music is so powerful and it fits these moments and it captures. So a lot of, in short, a lot of my influences, the Stones, the Motown sound, the Beatles are in so many movies.
Yeah, I love like the opposite of that too. You know, like we were talking about earlier, like the sparseness that you can have and have so much power. And it's like takes me to like even like Willie Nelson, like when he turned in like Redheaded Stranger. They're like, what is this? It's like him and a guitar. You know, they're like, this is, you know, and so, but yet it was still and still is powerful, so powerful. And then he's had songs all over movies. And I know that's not like what we're talking about sparse, but that is kind of the thing. It's like, you know, a guy and a guitar, a vocal and a guitar, or just a piano, maybe no vocal. You know what I mean? But that type of stuff I believe in, you know, but also like, you know, say somebody like Willie, you know, or Chris Christopherson, they understood telling stories like a 3-minute story, like a little moment in life and making it feel like a whole movie. And that's a goal that I have all the time, whether I'm writing a song for whatever I'm writing a song for. But, you know, that was just something that kind of came to me. It's like early on, You know, it's like they're like, well, this isn't a whole record. He's like, yeah, it is. You know, it's just so it was just so sparse, and so that part of it, you know, is always kind of fun to think about that you can impact so hard, but with the visuals and with the emotion of the acting and the movie and the storyline and all the things, um, you know, that's something I appreciate.
But it takes it to that next level. When you just said that about Willie Nelson, it made me think about Bonnie Raitt and like I
Oh.
Can't Make You Love Me. And I just got this pit in my stomach just from thinking about the song. That's how powerful they can be. Alex, what about you?
Um, like everyone here, I love music so much. I love sound. I listen to music most all day, every day. Couple of favorite film composers of the moment would probably be Mika Levi and Oliver
Yeah.
Coates.
I
The
think
two
you-
of them are like,
Yeah, that's exactly who we were gonna say too.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there's a handful of really interesting, cool people making film music, but those two definitely come to mind pretty quick. Other music, of course, like William Basinski has been making amazing music for decades, and I've just can't get enough of it. Listen to it so often. Go to every time he plays in LA. I'm right there. Also, a lot of just my good friends. You know, I've been collaborating with people that I work with. I like to get inspired by my friends. What are you listening to? Going to their shows. I'm going to see my friend Mary Lattimore this week. Good friend Juliana Barwick. You know, collaborate with her, play with her. Of course, Yonsei and the Cigaros Boys. I'm like always inspired by my community and friends of friends, and just try to stay engaged and stay curious and not get too obsessed with what I think I know, and just stay open to influences, you know?
You know, I just got to, full disclosure, I've got to say, like, I'm listening to Alex speak, and I'm like just remembering my my days in college when I went through a trip hop Icelandic pop phase, and so a lot of a lot of the music I was listening to was stuff that you probably wrote, and it's so formative, and it's so. And by the way, listening to Nickel Boys, I did get a lot of Mika Levy in that. I felt like I was kind of like Zone of Interest 2.0. And that's a damn good thing. That's a real compliment.
No, that's a real compliment. Thank you.
Scott, what do you agree with Alex, his view, or do you have a different aesthetic that you love?
Yeah, no, I would just add Ryuichi Sakamoto, the Japanese composer, because just like such a, for me, gold standard. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh yes, absolutely amazing. How about let's go to Sean next.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're talking about sort of favorites across the board or favorites as it relates to movie things, but
Whatever you want.
I'm a huge Randy Newman fan. I just think he's one of the best lyricists and songwriters ever. Burt Bacharach, you know, Stevie, you know, the classics. I mean, I love Mos Def. Black on Both Sides is one of my favorite albums ever. Yeah, all across the board.
Oh, there's some really good stuff in there too. I'm having little glimpses in my mind of similar tracks, and again, it just takes you back. Music can just transport you in a second. Nothing else can do that. Octopus Project. Let's go with you first, Toto. What's your view on terms of songwriters or film composers that you review?
Well, I think Mika Levy would be our go-to as well. That's just like such a huge inspiration for the way they can do so much to elevate what you're looking at with the simplest sound and just like really create a whole other space in your mind. This came up earlier when we were talking, but Popol Vuh is a big one for the Herzog soundtracks. I think that's a touchstone for both us and the Zellners, who we work with a lot.
Josh?
Yeah, I think to add to that, we've always been obsessed with this French composer, Francois de Roubaix. I don't know how to pronounce his name exactly, but 60s, mid 70s, amazing, like crazy synth sounds and just so textural and beautiful and awesome. And Ligeti, of course, is great. But more recently, I would say our good friend David Wingo is just fucking awesome and doing amazing stuff all the time. I really like his stuff.
Yeah.
And Yvonne?
I'm gonna say, well, my first musical love was Beethoven, and just the emotion that I felt on first really kind of listening to it as a 5-year-old. And then a composer I was just listening to this morning is Alberto Iglesias, and I just amazing. And some of his piano compositions that I was listening to this morning kind of reminded me again of being a 5-year-old listening to Beethoven and feeling all this emotion.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that is so cool. And I want to give a shout out while we're here to one of my favorite composers, Abel Kozianowski. He's a Polish composer who did a single man, sorry, Nocturnal Animals. And of course, to me, some of the greatest albums of all time include things like Sufjan Stevens' Illinois. Like that still brings tears to my eyes. And as an Aussie, I think Dallas might appreciate this. The amazing Sia, everything she does just completely blows my socks off. As I said, we could be here all day, but I'm not going to do that to you. I'm going to let you all go. Thank you so much for your insight. We really appreciated everything that you've given us today, and especially wanted to congratulate you all on some really beautiful work. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Nice talking to everyone.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
cheers, everyone.
Good to meet y'all.
Bye. Thank you.